here with you with Irfan. Hi, Irfan.
Hi Alex, how's it going today?
It's going really well. I'm excited to start the homework sections on chapter 2. Are you ready?
Yes, me too. Let's go.
Excellent. Just as a reminder, we are going through the AP Computer Science Done Right. I am the author of the book, and it's available on Amazon if you'd like to purchase it as an ebook or as a paper copy. Each video will be each different sections and different homeworks. And today we're going to focus on the homework sections from Chapter 2, Section 1. Let's do this. All right, Irfan, you have somehow found yourself in the year 1800s and have nothing to eat except for bread. But bread is a super exciting food, so we're okay with this. We would like to represent bread, the information as data, and each bread typically requires a kind of flour. It supplies a number of calories and includes how much love it's required to make each bread. Are you ready?
Okay, yes, let's go.
Excellent. So, how would we represent bread?
So we know it's far more complex than anything, so we need to create a class for it.
Exactly. For complex data that can't be just an integer or a string, we typically like to create a class. What should we name this class?
Bread, let's say.
Bread is a great name, I think. Um, Let me just copy this over so we have it. All right, what should we include in the bread class?
So we've been asked to write the flower type, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a string. So we'll start by that.
Excellent.
I don't think there would be any comments for this one.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it's pretty self explanatory.
Yes,
Yes.
and there will also be calories that are burnt, so
Mm-hmm.
it will be an int, let's say.
Yes. It's not calories that are burnt, it's the amount of calorie this bread has, right?
Yes, you're right.
Excellent. What else?
The love they're required to make,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be an int number, I guess, again.
Yeah, it could be an int, it could be a double, whatever people decide, but we can decide with an int. Love required. This is how much love this particular bread requires. All right, what's the next step in classes?
Oh, we'll have the constructor created.
Excellent, yes. We're gonna create a bread constructor and it will have all these things and we're just gonna let IntelliJ code for us. Excellent. All right, what's the next thing that we need to do in this homework?
So we'll need to calculate their price, but their difference in
Wait. That's
unity and
no
quantity that
one.
they're sold.
Yeah, no. 1 second. That's homework 2. So this is homework 1 still.
خودم چیه؟
این مشق اوله اونایی که داشتیم گفتیم مشق
همین مگه
دوم.
نبود که فقط ریپرزنت بکنی؟
خاله ولی بذار هومورک 1 تحقیق بکنم برگردیم به
ببخشید ببخشید.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we've represented our bread and we have a constructor for it. So are we done with homework 1 or is there anything else that we can do?
Um, I think we can have a test.
Exactly. Yes. Let's have a test to just essentially just create a homework. Sorry, a bread. So, one thing we can do a test. Well, it's difficult to test a class without any methods because we don't have anything to test it against. But in the main class, we can just, instantiate a bread. So we can do bread. What kind of bread do you like?
I like Barberry. It's my favorite bread.
Barberry. Okay, that's an Iranian bread. Excellent. We can make a new bread, and it will start with a flour type. Do you know what kind of flour it needs?
No, unfortunately.
I don't either. We'll just call it wheat. Hopefully it is that. How much calories would a single Barberry have?
Let's say 200 calories.
Oh, I think it's going to be a lot more than that. Barberry is like one of the most calorie intense bread. We're going to go with 400. How much love does it need?
Yeah, it needs 10 out of 10 love.
I agree. Barberry is a very lovely bread. Excellent. So this is how we would create an instance of our bread. However,
Right.
in the second homework problem, we realized that there's a difference between breads. For lavash and injera, and I guess Barberry as well, you buy them per count. So a single injera or a single lavash or a single Barberry. But for bread like pumpernickel or sourdough, you have to actually weigh them and then you pay by pound. So we want to figure out the cost of each bread given their count or weight. How do we do this? How do we design such a method?
Okay, so I think we'll need to design two different methods.
Two different methods? Okay. Talk me through this.
So one of them calculates the cost based on the number of the breads that have been sold, and the other one by the weight.
Okay, so you were saying you want to have a calculate cost per count method that takes in a bread and a count and returns the price, essentially, right?
Exactly.
And then you want to have a calculate cost per weight that takes in the bread and the weight and returns the price, right?
Right.
Okay, so we could have that, but there's just a single problem. There's a slight problem. Remember how we did the exercise classes, and we had some of the exercises have strength, some of them have cardio, and some part of the information is used for both. Some part of it is used for only one versus the other. So, for example, if we wanted to include the count of an injera, that would be great. But if we wanted to include its weight, that would be useless because the weight of injera doesn't matter. Similarly, for a sourdough, the count doesn't matter. Do you remember that part from the class?
Yes, I remember. You're right.
Okay, so for it to be, a lot cleaner, we want our design to make perfect sense. We want it to follow the design recipe. I think it will make better sense to have two separate classes for each of these things. What do you think?
Okay, let's create the classes.
Excellent. All right. So with this one, we can create we can just reuse the name for one of the types. So we can call it countable bread. And we know we have to change the structure of it. And it can either have what's the problem here? Countable bread. Oh yes, we should also rename the file. The file of the class needs to be the same name. All right, so then accountable bread, we can define a method to determine its price per count. And then we can actually have a field that says price per count. how much each bread should cost. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And then we create another class for uncountable breads, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we'll go ahead here, create a new class. I'm going to call them weighted bread. And a lot of it is the same, so I've copy pasted this. And let's say the weight should be per like pound. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Excellent. Okay, so now that we have our two classes, weighted bread and countable bread, let's determine the countable breads. What is it complaining about? Oh, it's this bread. Let's call it a countable bread. All right.
There's another question that I have.
Yep. What's the question?
After int love required, don't we need to add this that price per count in the constructor?
Yes, exactly. We absolutely do. So we need to have price per count here. And the stock price per count. All that jazz. And then we need to have it in our example too. So let's say it's $2 per count, which actually in USD. And then similar in the weighted bread, we want to include price per. All right. Does that make more sense?
Yes, it makes sense now.
Perfect. All right. Let's have our price method for the countable bread. So we have our purpose statement already. What's our signature?
The output will be a double number.
Yep.
And so we want to get the price. It can be get price, let's say.
Yep. Exactly. And it should have the count.
And then, yes, exactly.
Excellent. All right. We can just use our example from here. So this Barberry, let's say, if we have $2 per Barberry, and if we want to purchase, let's say, 5 Barberries, what should the output be? Do you hear me?
Sorry, yeah, for 1 second I lost the connection.
Oh, no worries. So for 5 Barberries, what should the price be?
So it will be each is $2, so it will be total $10.
Yes, exactly. All right, so that's easy enough to write the method. So we can just go ahead and say return, because it's going to return something, and it will be this dot price per count multiplied by count. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yes.
Excellent. So then we want to do it weighted bread. And let's say that we are, let's say we're going to get the weight. It's not going to be by pound. Let's say we're going to get it by Well, actually, no, it can be by pound, actually. It's going to be a similar thing. Get price, int weight.
Because they're in different classes, it doesn't matter if the name of the method is the same, right?
Exactly, yeah, it doesn't matter that the name is the same. When you, that's a great question, actually. So when you do like Barberry dot get price, it knows to go into the countable breads price method because Barberry is a countable bread. But when you do a weighted bread, then it knows to go into a weighted bread price method. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, it makes sense.
Sorry, get price of, let's say 2 or 5. We don't know what to do. Just one second. نمیدونم الان یه فرقی باید بینشون باشه که تو دوتا کلاس گذاشتیم الان متدمون داره عین هم میشه.
خب یه وزنی ما نباید بهش بدیم وقتی وزنش رو ضبط داره پرایس پر پاوندش بکنی که دیگه یکی نمیشه.
آخه الان این در واقع داره این شکلی میشه. این الان خیلی شبیه اینه.
آره دقیقا.
بذاری داره فکر کنم. price per weight رو چجوری میشه چیز کرد. Okay, I got it. All right, does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense.
Perfect. So let's write it with a weighted bread. So let's say weighted bread typically have a initial price. So no matter how much bread you get, you have to pay at least $2 because otherwise you could just get like bread that is like very, very tiny and then you would have to pay like essentially nothing. So the baseline for weighted breads are typically $2. And then we will add the weight times the price per weight field that we have. Does that make sense?
Okay, it makes sense. Do we just left the two like that? Is that okay?
Yeah, we can just leave it as this, but that's a great point. Great programmers don't leave just like magic numbers. So we can just have it as int base price to be 2 so that you know what this like random 2 is actually doing. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes, now it makes sense.
Perfect. I'm so glad you're getting so good at this. All right. What's the next step in writing methods?
Now that we've written, we just do a test.
Exactly. So let's write a test. Get price. All right, so this is going to be a weighted bread. So weighted bread, let's say sourdough, gets a new weighted bread. All right, the flour type. Oh man, I have no idea what flour type it is.
Wheat, let's say again.
Let's say wheat again. Perfect. How much calories? Let's say 100. I think sourdoughs are not that calorie intensive. Love required. I like sour bread. I think it requires at least 8 out of 10. And then how much are they per weight? Maybe like $1, let's say. I don't know. All right. How do we test this?
Assert equals.
Assert equals, exactly. Assert equals sourdough. This is annoying. Okay. Sourdough dot get price. And let's say how much sourdough would you want? How many pounds?
I would want 2 pounds.
2 pounds. That's like a great idea. 2 pounds. All right. How much should it return?
It would return 2 times 2 plus 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a bit of 2s. Well, actually, the price per weight is 1.
Oh, yeah. So 2 times 1, which is 2.
Yep. Plus 2.
Plus 2. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. We can have this run. And then we also need a test for countable bread, right?
Right, yes.
Excellent. So let's create our test. Well, let's see if this one passes. This one passed. Yay, good job. All right. So get price for the countable bread. Well, we can actually just move this guy over to the weighted or countable, sorry. So how do we test this?
So equals.
Yep. Barberry.get price. Again, this is super annoying. I don't know what the problem is. Get price, and let's say we want 5 barberries. What should we expect the output to be?
Okay, did we say it's $2 each?
Yeah.
So it would be 5 multiplied by 2.
Perfect, exactly. And then we can run it. And the test passed. Great job, Irfan.
Yay!
Awesome. All right.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. This was an excellent session. Hope to see you in next section. Bye.
See you. Bye.